Hello everybody and welcome back to Weather Mountains. This is my overly explained Let's Play, where I try to cover just about everything that I'm doing in a given playthrough. Now, for this here episode, my kind of goal is to get us over to fall and then trade once again. I'm also expecting some more migrants soon, rather than later. Sooner rather than later. We're also doing a little bit of light raiding and attacking some things around the fortress, although I'm not breaking any alliances right now because frankly, I think being friends with the neighbors currently is better for us than being enemies with the neighbors. We did get the beginnings of our kind of setup over here for farming ready to go. And also we have this tiny little tavern. We also did some above ground farming up here, which probably needs some securing. Now, some people have pointed out that I could make this into a greenhouse by simply flooring off the top. Yes, I'm aware that that's the way the game's mechanics work. However, I don't like doing that, just because to me it's a little bit cheesy, unless I have glass, which currently we don't have. Now, what I am going to do, however, is remove these ramps because I think that they look a little ugly. Now, another thing that I am going to do is I'm going to put a block right here just so that it, looks like a solid thing. If you allow diagonals, things could just walk through them or climb through them. And we wouldn't want that to happen now, would we? We do have this little refuse pile up here on the surface, and we do actually have some sand deposits around. But something that's been bothering me about this fortress is we have this lovely little river here that is flowing into the fortress. Now, it is quite good and quite efficient and hooked up to a lever right over here. So I'm going to give this lever a pull and I'm going to stop it from flowing. Now, the reason I'm going to do this is because we have a very nice little aquifer in this fortress, and I want to show you another use for aquifers. I'm going to actually harness this aquifer to feed this with a little bit more water, just so it will continue producing water even in the winter. We wouldn't want our water supply to go dry once a year, which it currently kind of is. So what we're going to do is I'm going to find one layer above this aquifer right here. So that would be right here. So I'm going to dig this area out right here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to channel down and into the aquifer. Now what channeling does is it digs down one layer, removing that whole layer of blocks. And what that's going to do is it's going to make trenches that are then going to fill up with water. I'm going to redirect the water from those trenches down into here. I'm then going to block this layer off here so that the water runs directly into our little reservoir and isn't going to cause us any flooding problems. So this channeling act down here goes straight into the kind of aquifer layer. As you can see, it's right there. We can already see it. So I'm going to begin channeling out down here. And if I move down a layer, you'll see all these little water droplets, which is going to signify that we are in this aquifer. The aquifer water is going to flow down and around this way and then into here. I'm going to channel this out. It got canceled because they hit water. When they start touching wet rock, they stop digging. Now, this is a designed mechanic, and it's one that you definitely want to pay attention to. And you can disable the automatic canceling of digging when you hit water. The reason I don't like doing that, and will quite literally never do that in my own fortresses, is because I do not, under any circumstance, want what's the word here that I'm looking for? I do not, under any circumstance, want water or to turn this off purely because if I do, let's just say that if you're digging into water, suddenly it may decide that, well, there's suddenly now a torrent of water because you actually hit an underground lake instead of just, these nifty little light aquifers, which are quite lovely. We're going to channel out a bunch more of this and just take a look around and see kind of what we have to work with here. I'm also going to real quick queue up a few very small little stone bridges across these, just so that my dwarves can get across once these fill up with water, because they will fill up with water. If I hit F, we can see the depth. The depth goes up to 7, so 1 of 7 currently is the depth, and they're going to go all the way up to 7 of 7. Now, I don't really want this to fill from up here. I don't really want the water to come from our water supply up top. I want the water to come from this water supply. So one final thing that I am going to do is I'm going to dig one more addition into this trench. It's going to go along here and then along here. So it's going to go down another layer, remove the upper bit, and then down into this lower layer. So we're kind of basically building an extension from our original water setup here. So this water is going to just begin flowing. And now, because there's more aquifer over here, and I'm certain of this, I can just start digging more. And as long as there's little water driblets on either side, we know that it's producing water. And maybe, if this is optimal, it's going to remove the need for us to use the creek up on the surface as a water supply to begin with. And then instead of being... and instead of our water supply being removed every winter for a period, we are just going to have a steady water supply. Personally, I like to use both, have a combination of both in case for some reason I need to block this area off as well. But we're not going to worry too much about that. Now, if I happen to have a floodgate lying around, I could potentially throw one in here, but it is currently blocked. Now, the reason it's currently blocked is because of these pesky ramps. So I'm going to, oh, I see. I had the wrong tool selected. I'm going to remove some of these ramps. We're going to do this on the highest priority here. I'm going to bump it up to priority 1. I'm going to bump it up to priority 1. We're going to get these mined out. I don't actually know if I have any floodgates lying around, but if I happen to, we are definitely going to put one in here before this water gets through, which I do. Excellent. So now that I know for a fact that I have these floodgates available, we're just going to get a floodgate hooked up. And I'm going to scroll up a little bit to this lever, and I'm actually going to link this to the same floodgate. So we can stop the whole thing all at once. So I'm going to link it. We're going to go down to the layer with it, and now it's going to link to this floodgate. So instead of having to, worry about this causing problems and not being able to fill up, this will all fill up, and we can use this just as another water production source, which is going to be very helpful for the fortress. Now I'm going to kind of go all the way along the edge here, and we're going to do the exact same setup, and this will be quite efficient once it's all filled up, as an addition to the original water supply. So we've expanded our water supply now. This probably won't be enough water by itself to power the water wheels, but at the very least, we won't need to worry about keeping, wells full, as an example. Of course, we do have that well that we built earlier on in this series, but now we don't need to worry about anything water related. More migrants have arrived, so we're going to be curious to see what that number goes up to. And while that number is going up, I'm going to jump back over to the main menu here. So in a world like this, as an example, if for some reason you did want to be able to access the rest of the world, because we're kind of stuck in this small place of peace here. It looks like this tomb is now at war with us. How exciting. The small place of peace here is, we have no access to the mainland, right? If I wanted access to the mainland, if I just embarked a fortress right here, right there, covering these two continents, we would have access to this continent. Just a tip for the future. Now, because we are at war with these guys, I'm just going to pillage them again. Let's see if we can get any more kills. Now, the last time we attacked them, we did get 2 kills on a yak and a human, but I'm curious as to what else is hanging out there. So I'm going to send the military back out. Why not? Although, maybe bad idea to send everybody out, but why not in this instance, just for a little bit of fun? We're going to check on this small farming place here, and because I did set it up, it's set to only allow visitors if guild is established. We don't actually have a guild established, so I'm just going to set it to citizens only. Any citizens can now come here and learn how to farm, and also our ducks supply is getting a little large, and our meat supply is getting a little low, so something I'm actually going to queue up here is we're going to jump over to the units screen, and we're going to go over to pets and livestock. We're going to queue up some of these ducks, not the ducklings, just the ducks, for slaughter, because we do have probably a good number of them. Or are they really all just ducklings? Wow, they are really all just ducklings. I guess we'll simply wait a little bit. Although I am going to set a couple of these yaks to be slaughtered, this reindeer to be slaughtered, this alpaca to be slaughtered, and we'll just leave everything else as is. That reindeer too, and that goat. Billy goats aren't super useful to us currently. I will leave the water buffaloes around, however. Once these ducklings begin to grow into adult ducks, we will get to slaughtering those. So, looks like our population went up by 1? But we're now a city, so that's cool. Oh, actually, no, quite a bit more than 1, because 2 of my squads just left the map, and they're still in the process of leaving. If we actually click on them, all of the ones with those little arrow drawing icons next to them are the ones that have already left the map, and all the ones that do not have that have not left the map yet. So I'm kind of, okay, sweet, they've all left the map now. Excellent. So they're going to go off and pillage, which means we actually have 20 more. So we actually gained about 20 dwarves on that, which brings us up to the count of a city. If I click on this and scroll down once again, we can see how many still need bedrooms. I'm going to give it maybe 10 minutes of recording time because I'm 10 minutes into recording this particular here episode, and then we're going to check the bedrooms again and see how many of them need bedrooms. It's always a little bit of a guessing game for me. I don't specifically count or anything because I think that's a little silly. But something that we can do, however, is we can take a look at our water source, which is filling up quite nicely. We're actually going to jump up here and give this here lever a pull. And it's going to let the water begin flooding back down and continue doing what it's intended to do. You know, keeping our fortress flooded, which is exactly what we want. And there it goes. Look at that. From both sides. So if we scroll back down to the bottom, she's filling up, and the water wheels are probably going to start turning pretty soon. Setting that up. Come on. Well, something I would like to do is I really want to keep our dwarves happy. And we have this nice little spot right here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of carve this out right here. We're going to make ourselves a little addition to this section of our fortress. A small machine, would you, to keep dwarves very happy. Now, the machine that we're going to build here is we're going to build a mist generator. Now, this is a little bit advanced. I do actually have a tutorial on how to do this on my YouTube channel. However, we're going to just be building one of these today. So this is going to require us routing power from water wheels, not necessarily these ones. I'm actually going to build some a little closer here just so that it's a little bit more convenient for us. But essentially what we are going to be building is we are going to be building a little contraption that is going to pump water in a square. Now, as you can see, right beneath here, we have this little spot right here, which, you know, is about 4 across and about 4 down, which is big enough here for what we want to accomplish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little zone here where we are going to drop down a layer. So it's going to start right here, I think. So we're going to channel down to right there. We're going to channel down to right there, not in that hallway where the cat is. And then we're going to go one up here and then one across. Now, the problem with this is going to land right on this roof. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to move this wall piece up by a tile. So I'm going to reconstruct this wall piece here and then remove it there. So anybody coming and going from the fortress is actually going to be forced to walk through some mist. Now, what mist does is it, my personal favorite headcanon for this is that dwarves just have really dry skin. They spend a lot of time underground and messing around with dirt and sand and dust, and this is very bad for their poor skin. Looks like our soldiers have already returned, so we'll have to check how they did. Also, checking the noble screen, my mayor, the lovely Bubness, really wants us to make some helms, so we shall provide some helms for Mayor Bubness. We're going to go over to the work orders screen, and we're going to queue up iron. Well, actually, yeah, sure, we'll do iron helms. I should also check on the iron supply here. Actually, also, since both of our squads just came back, we did this in the last episode, I'm going to jump over to the equipment screen, and I'm going to assign uniform metal armor, just so that they go and reset everything. And it looks like we got everything that we need. So the only things that are left for this uniform are backpacks and water skins, which are important for your military, but not the most important. So I'm not going to worry too much about that right now. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we need power. So I need a way of accessing power. I think we're going to access power from right here. We're going to run it up to here. Hopefully I don't hit the aquifer, and I'm going to run it out to this side. So we'll just dig that out, and I'll explain why I'm doing that in a second. The next thing we're going to need here is we're going to need some pipes. Specifically, we're going to need 1, 2, 3, 4. We're also going to need corkscrews, 4 of them. So wooden pipe, okay, 4, and wooden corkscrew, 4. Wooden corkscrew. So once this is dug out and those tasks are completed, I'll continue speaking. Also, keep in mind, those corkscrews and pipes are made in a carpenter's workshop. So just make sure you have wood and make sure that you have a carpenter. We'll continue with the video in a minute. So the next thing we're going to do now that this has been dug out is I'm actually going to channel down a little bit here. Now, channeling down is going to remove the floor and expose this spot right here. Now, in order to power this, we're going to need a few things, but we're going to kind of build this backwards directly into power. So before we do any of this, I did say that I would do this, we're going to check on bedrooms and see how many dwarves need bedrooms. Can see that our militia captain and commanders have lost their bedrooms. Other dwarves are slowly assigning quarters from the looks of things, and we are a little bit short on quarters. It looks like we're probably going to need to assign some more bedrooms pretty soon, so that might be the last task we do in this episode. This dwarf is going to run over here and channel this out, and now what we're going to do is I'm going to check on those pipes and see if those are ready to go. We do have some of them getting started, but something exciting has happened. Urvad, the diagnoser, has been taken by a Feymud, who's currently just sitting here. Well, that's bad. I wonder what task they need. Looks like they are a talented wound dresser, and an adequate stone cutter, and an adequate stone carver, which leads me to wonder, do I have a leatherworker's shop? Maybe not, actually. Let's build ourselves a leatherworker's shop and see if that's what they need. Actually, I think that's what we were going to do over here, if I'm not mistaken. So let's jump over to clothing and leather and place a leatherwork shop over here out of quartzite. In fact, let's make 2 of them. They'll be a lovely pink color. Let's wait until the dwarves get those constructed, and then we'll see if that is in fact what they needed. We're also going to jump over the report screen real quick and see what we acquired. Bunch of random garbage, it appears. A bronze spear, in fact. Well, that's kind of nice. Some bows, a rope reed dress, and let's see how the actual pillaging itself went. We went and we rampaged throughout and stole treasure. Well, that's a bunch of garbage. Let's see if these are completed yet and done. Let's see if that is in fact what our dwarf needed. Has claimed a leatherworks. Perfect. Have a peek at that. Now we're going to follow Urvad and see what items they grab. They grab some yak leather. They grab some alpaca leather. They run down here and over down this way, and ooh, copper bars. Would you have a look at that? It's going to be an interesting little artifact, if nothing else. They jump up to the top, and then if we click this, it says that they are working furiously, meaning they have acquired all the items that they need, and we got some stinky meat over here that is rotting. Well, that's suboptimal. Dwarves, if you could please just get this meat here dealt with quicker, that would be lovely. I think I'm going to actually just make a meat-specific stockpile there, just so that we stop running into that issue. They only start to rot if you don't have enough barrels, and if they don't have enough places to put the meats, and that's not a good situation to be in. So we definitely need to get that sorted sooner rather than later. But let's jump back up to our contraption up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some pumps here. So we're going to go over to machines and fluids, and we're going to go to screw pump. Now, screw pumps, once I build this first one, I can explain it, pump from this side on the bottom over to this side. So by default, that is the default orientation. They go from the kind of gear side to the spout side. Now, if I go to build another one, you'll see on this thing, you can actually see the direction that's pumping. So if I want it to go from left to right, I can build it that way. If I want it to go from south to north, we can do it that way. And if I want it to go from right to left, we can place it that way, using all of the pieces that we constructed. Now, we're going to need these to be connected so that they can transmit power from one to another. And the way we're going to do this is with gear assemblies. Now, gear assemblies use mechanisms, which are made at the trap maker shop. I'm going to place one here, which is going to connect these two, and I'm going to place one here, which is going to connect these two, and then I'm also going to place a third one right here to connect these two. Of course, the other way we could do this would be by removing this and simply placing 2 of these up top, connecting these 3, and then using an axle from this bottom one to connect it to these 2. Now, axles are made purely out of wood, which means they're a little bit less power heavy than using, your rock mechanisms. Now, I do have 3 mechanisms left. We're going to need a little bit more here, so I do have some queued up behind the scenes. But what we're going to do is we're going to be transmitting power from down here, 1 layer down, to all the way up here, right? So what we're going to need now is we're going to need to connect these with axles as well. So I'm going to place 1 axle right there, switch directions with the axles. We're going to go this way and go all the way down to there, and then all the way down to here. Now, one other thing to mention about axles is you can actually make them vertically too, using vertical axles, and they work exactly the same way, except you build them 1 layer at a time going up and down instead of horizontally. So we're going to let them construct all this, wait for some more mechanisms, and check in on that artifact and do all of this fun stuff. So I was just going down here to build a second mechanics workshop for behind the scenes, and it looks like Urvad, the diagnoser, has created Error Ekis, a yak leather shield, and offers it to the Rampart of Raining. Now, while this is a really cool shield, maybe not the most efficient for our sword and board kind of dwarves. Probably would be pretty good for Mark's dwarves, but I'm going to be holding off on using those until the next major update comes out, because they're doing some major changes to the way Mark's dwarves work to make them a little bit less finicky and work more consistently, instead of being kind of the mess that they are currently, which is just kind of unacceptable as far as I'm concerned. But let's go take a look at this artifact. Although, behind the scenes, I am still going to, well, I guess it's now on the scenes, I'm still going to queue up this mechanic shop right here because we need another one. Now, we're going to go jump over to this leather shield and take a peek. This is a yak leather shield. Our crafts dwarf ship is of the highest quality. It is decorated with yak leather and menaces with spikes of yak leather and alpaca leather and copper. What a lovely little shield. A very nice addition to the fortress as far as I'm concerned. Looks like some of these amphibian people stuffs are finally getting hauled away from the basement layers. And if I jump down to here, we can also see some more getting put back there, which is also fine. I'm just going to quickly queue these up to be dumped. We are then going to go back over to our contraption and continue working on that. So as you can see, everything pretty much here is hooked up with the exception of the last axle. And our dwarf here is making some mechanisms because I must have moved the mechanic shop sometime in the past. And I'm also just going to make sure that we have a little bit more space down here. Because one, I need some more stone. And two, well, we're going to need more crafting space, probably. This is Dwarf Fortress. More jobs means more dwarves, which means more space, which means more materials are needed. And we are going to need more materials, after all. Of course, we do have this water notice here because we are on the very edge of this aquifer. And I wonder if we're going to actually start colliding with it. We might. We might. They're going to dig out all this. And we do have one shell mechanism here, which means I can begin the next piece of this. You see right here? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to go directly beneath this, and we're going to place a mechanism, and then we're going to go right up one, and we're going to place the second one as soon as it's available. So we've got the second one and the bottom one. So this one down here is going to connect power to this mechanism up here, which is going to connect power to this axle, which is going to connect power to this axle, which is going to connect power to all of these. Now, if I click on this entire contraption right here is going to take 96 power. Now, 96 power is perfect because one water wheel produces 100 power if it's running at full capacity, which I think it will. So we're now going to go down here and I'm going to connect a water wheel to this spot right here. And then all we need to do is we need to wait for a dwarf to come over here and construct this. And then this water, which is flowing off the bottom here, will power our water wheels just like these three right here. Now, it is 7 of 7 full. They need to be at least 4 of 7 full in order to work. Keep that in mind. So if it's like 2 of 7, it's not going to function to begin with. We've got 2 logs that are queued up to be brought down here. I think that's what that means instead of just one's already been brought down. But as soon as this is done and ready to go, I will continue speaking. So now it is constructed, but we've suddenly run into an issue. Looks like we actually need 6 more power. Well, phooey. That is fine. I can simply use a lovely mechanic with these. We can attach a second one to the outside. And also because we do have a floor access here, they should be able to construct it from the side. I don't think they need to be on this side to construct it, so with a little bit of luck and some fingers crossed, there's the first one. Now we just need to wait for 2 more logs to come over here, and this will definitely power it. Now, because there's nothing actually in these pumps right now, it's not going to be an issue. It's going to simply pump in a circle here. Now, if we want these to be 100% safe, which I personally do, we have some additions that we need to add to this. We're going to need some grates. So I'm going to make rock grates, specifically 4. And we do have some statues that I've queued up behind the scenes here sneakily, which we'll also be using as part of this. Now, the next thing we have here is Pamwood Singed Farm wishes to live here for the purpose of eradicating monsters. And might I ask who you are? You're a human bowman. So the problem with humans is they wear bigger clothing than dwarves. I don't really want to be making you clothing, so I'm just going to say no. Please leave. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Goodbye, goodbye. Jumping up here, we are going to fly down, and we're going to see that now this is spinning. Would you look at that? Active. 200 power. It's using 216 power. And so now we have this zone set up. So since we have this lovely little well right here, and a little water zone here, I'm actually going to use that pit pond technique that you may have seen me use in previous videos. So what we're going to do is I'm going to grab this and I'm going to grab the pit slash pond setup here. And the pit pond water source is going to go right there. I'm going to accept it. And, oh no, that's the water source button, not the pit ponds button. I can read. We're going to go to the pit pond. I just misclicked it, I think. And we're going to accept it. And I'm going to set this to a pond. And now that means they're going to grab buckets from here and dump them into here. Once there's 2 of 7 depth water here, it's going to grab it from down here. As you can see, there's one right there. It's going to grab it from down there, and then it's going to start propelling it in a circle. So once this is got one more dwarf with throwing a bucket of water in there, we just need to wait. Just need to wait a little longer. Just a little bit longer, and a little bit longer, and a little bit longer. Where are you, dwarf? Come on. Somebody throw a bucket of water in there. We don't got all year. It's going to dry up eventually. I need a dwarf to do that. Perfect. And then there we go. So now that that's done, I can remove this. And what's going to happen is it's going to spin in circles, and it's going to start creating mist. But as you can see, we kind of screwed up a little bit here. Well, not directly. I mean, this system will work just fine, but as you can see, it's distributing mud in a circle, which we really don't want. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to stop this whole setup by deconstructing one of these gear assemblies right here, because I just want to show you how the setup works before our statues are ready, which currently they are not, as far as I'm concerned. If I jump over to work orders, yeah, see, our statues haven't even started yet. So essentially, I need to remove this, and we're going to also show you how to get rid of mud, because that's something I've seen a lot of people asking me about, is how do you get rid of mud? Well, the way you get rid of mud is you take some floor and you build over top of it, which also increases the value of the room around it, which is a pretty good thing to have. So we're going to make some nice bauxite floors for this entry hallway, and also begin prettying this area up a little bit. So now as this area gets fixed, we just simply need to wait on our statues to get constructed. But up on the surface, some humans have just arrived to trade, so maybe we need to go pay attention to that, I think. And also we need some more stoneworker shops down here to actually get those statues completed. Before I begin trading, I just want to scroll down this list once again and point out, look, everybody's claimed a bedroom. Except for one axe dwarf, but that's fine. Probably just hasn't gone to sleep yet. The mud has been cleared out, and I can jump up to our trading area, and we're going to trade with some humans. I'm going to request a broker to the depot, and we're going to sell them some jewelry. Now, it looks like we got a bunch of amulets up here, which is good. And I'm going to go down to rings and crowns as well. We're going to sell them a bunch of these. These crafts aren't worth very much, but hey, they're arts and crafts. Come on. We got to be nice to these dwarves and nice to these humans and just, you know, generally give them the benefit of the doubt that, yes, of course, stuff's not going to be all that valuable. They're just crafts after all. We're going to make sure that they have those available by the time that they are here and ready to trade. Continue waiting on those statues. We do have one of the statues done, so I'm just going to get that placed, and now we have diplomacy set up here. And the mayor, Bubness, meets with the royal treasurer. Because we are in very good terms with the humans, they are being very kind and sending us a royal treasurer. And they say, on behalf of the Merchants Guild, let me extend my greetings to your people. There is much to discuss. There is much to share. Information has been added to the civilization and world info. What requests do you have of our merchants? And I'm going to say, well, what kind of animals do you have here? Because if I recall correctly, we requested bears from them, and it appears that they do have bears available, but no grizzlies. Oh, there they are. Perfect. Grizzly bears. Thank you very much. Grizzlies, grizzlies, grizzlies. I'm not going to attack you with those later, I swear. And they're requesting thread in return, which means we can absolutely provide that. I'll just simply need to make sure that I'm not, you know, selling them thread that I need to keep for some reason. Looks like our first statue is going to get queued up in a moment here. And once the rest of them are done and ready to go, underneath rock statues, then we will build all 4 of them and get this little setup going. Of course, if that floor does get muddy again, the way that we'll have to clean it up a second time is by deconstructing and reconstructing the floor. It's a pretty quick process, but it's a little bit tedious. Seems like all of the items have been brought up to the trading depot, so and our Bubness seemed... Okay, there you go. He's back now. Let's mark all for trading. We do have 3,673 value, and they seem to have brought us a good number of grizzlies. Oh, yeah, look at that. Look at that. Excellent. Excellent. And now we can trade for 2 of them. Breeding pair of grizzlies. Go! Can I get 3? No. Okay, not quite enough value. That's fine. 2 is all we need, really. Although they did bring some whips, which I'm also a big fan of, which I also can't afford. So I will trade for those. And we're going to bring over some more trade goods here just so that I can buy some whips. And also something that I did in the last episode was I made sure that we had specific weaponsmith and specific armorsmith set up. I kind of want my dwarves to be using better weapons, so we're going to queue up iron spears. We're not going to be doing steel at all in this particular series, but I'm going to queue up 20 iron spears just so that the general quality of my soldiers' weapons goes up. And now that we've got these wheelbarrows up here, I'm going to grab their whips. Look at that, look at that, look at that. Oh, okay, never mind. I can't actually afford all of them. Those are actually very expensive whips. How about instead of buying whips, we just simply buy another lady bear? How's that going to do? That's going to do pretty good as far as I'm concerned. Although, man, I do have to give them 3 wheelbarrows for it. We'll take it if they insist. Now, our statues are ready, so we're going to go back down. And we're going to leave the game unpaused, and I'm going to jump over to furniture here, and we are going to assign a statue down here, and a statue right here on the corner, and a statue right here. Now, the problem with this setup now is suddenly things feel very cramped. We do have this little office assigned here, which is currently assigned to nobody. So I'm just going to kill it, get rid of it, and we're going to jump down to this jet throne and remove it so that it doesn't feel like they're running through such a cramped area. And then I'm going to move one tile up, and we're going to, once these statues are placed, replace them all. But I'm kind of curious, what is this a statue of? It looks kind of funky. This is a statue of a reptile man. The item is an image of a reptile man. This one over here is a image of a cobalt-sized statue of a dwarf. Very simple. I like it. And down here is an image of a mussel, as in, like, you know, a shellfish critter. And this child is playing in the way of this statue construction, meaning it's not going to get done anytime soon. Child, can you please move? Children, can you please move? No? Okay, there we go. Now it's moved. Now we just need to move there. I think is that a mini forge? I'm not sure what it is. Yes, it is in fact a mini forge. Well, anyway, now that our statues are constructed, I can move a layer up, and I can remake that pit pond section, and we can also remake that mechanism. Get this whole thing up and running once again, which will only take a few seconds for a dwarf to come over here and select this, and then we can set this over to a pond, and bang, there it goes, everything's running. Set this back to pit pond, and now that we have, hopefully, year-round power set up here, as well as this setup as a pit and pond, we should have consistent mist. And as you can see, dwarves are generally pretty happy in this fort, but we do have 30 that are kind of on the upset side, and 3 that are quite pissed. And I would like that to cease being an issue. I'm going to remove this zone once again, and here it goes. So now once we move down to this layer, we can see it is generating mist in these 4 spots. So it's pretty hard for dwarves to come and go from the fortress without colliding with this. And if we look at a dwarf that just ran through, nope, not you. How about you? Relieved being near a waterfall. Relief and content are the 2 thoughts that they get from being near waterfalls like this, which are very, 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 very positive moods for dwarves. Some other ways that you could set these up is by simply having a set of pumps that pumps water up and then over and then through a diagonal thing to remove all of the water pressure and then down into the location. A second way that you could set this, a setup like this up, would just be to simply channel into a light aquifer and let the water freely flow out. Those are just 3 kind of ways to set these up. This is probably the most advanced and or complicated method of doing a setup like this, but you can get as simple or as complicated as you would like with it. Now, I don't really want the dwarves kind of running through here. However, one benefit of this is it is actually creating mist on this upper layer, so even dwarves using this upper layer are going to be getting little thought boosts from it. So hopefully this begins to assist. As you can see, this number is already starting to drop just in real time even. Look at that. We're already up to 30 on the center here, and they're moving over to the happy side. 25, 20, okay, 26. Okay, let's see as this number changes, and we'll kind of keep tabs on it. Now, I did say that we're aiming for fall for trading, which of course we need to trade tools. So I have made a bunch of wheelbarrows, but I'm going to queue up even more wheelbarrows because I want them to be happy with us. So we're going to do some copper wheelbarrows. We're going to do 5 of these, and we're going to check our iron supply and see how many more wheelbarrows we can make. We do have 11 copper. Okay. And 2 iron bars. Well, that's a little on the low side here. So let's jump over to these smelters and see what we can do here. Let's start smelting tetrahedrite on repeat because I do have quite a bit of that. And hematite, I think. There we go. We're going to smelt both of those, get those going. And I'm going to queue up a job for silver wheelbarrows because those are quite valuable because this is going to be our main trade good here. Now, tetrahedrite is going to give us silver. So if we actually select some tetrahedrite and take a peek at it, assuming I have some sitting in the stockpile. Okay, it's on the lower layer then. Where is it? There's some tetrahedrite. Ore of silver, 20% comes out as silver, and ore of copper. So very effective way of creating some silver there. Silver also makes for really, 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 really good and effective and efficient, what's the word? Hammers. Hammers and maces are my personal favorites. We also need a space for those bears, so I'm just going to queue that up right here and give them a little bit of time to dig her out. And so we're just going to be kind of chilling out until fall so that we can get another trade route in here. Also, let's take a peek at our ducks. How many of them are... Okay, sweet. The ducks have all begun to become adults. I keep on thinking, I'm going to just sit here now and wait until that opportunity arrives to trade again, but things just keep happening, as is the way with Dwarf Fort. We are now going to slaughter the vast majority of this supply of quackers, and we're going to go all the way up here to the top, and then all the way down. I'm not going to slaughter all of them, but I'm going to slaughter a vast majority of them. We're going to leave all the way up to this one here, basically, so that we have one, well, let's just say 2 drakes and a good number of lady egg layers. Once all those are done slaughtering, then we are going to lock these doors and just simply let them lay more eggs for us, which of course they've been doing this whole time, but it will be way more efficient without them. These dwarves are cutting out this, which is going to be for bears. We're just going to wait for them to cut it down. And it looks like some more migrants have arrived. We'll do a population update in a moment. So now that our area here has been dug out, this is going to be queued up for our grizzlies. We're going to make another pen and pasture over here and get it all hooked up right there. And then, of course, for grizzlies, so we're going to go find those grizzlies. There they are, down at the bottom. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Get them all moved over and into that spot, and they will be quite happy and ready to go. Something else we're going to have to sell to the dwarves when they do arrive is also going to be a good supply of used clothing. I'll show you how to trade some used clothing in a moment, but first we just need to simply wait for those grizzlies to get penned there, and also we're still in the process of slaughtering as many quacks as possible. Something else that's worth noting is the number of happy and unhappy dwarves. Happy dwarves are going up, unhappy dwarves are going down, just the way we like to see it. We were up to 129 dwarves in the fortress, and I'm going to use this as an opportunity to go through some more of our bauxite. So I'm going to continue bauxiting all of these walkways here. Just kind of, I'm thinking just kind of the central walkways are going to be kind of this red color, maybe just kind of like in a circle, just so that, you know, we look like there's kind of an intended aesthetic here. Personally, we appear to be running low on the bauxite, but I kind of want this loop here all to be bauxite, so we're going to need to go mine out some more bauxite, which appears to be down in this corner here. So in order to get this done, what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to build a little walkway across here, and we're going to do it out of, I think, maybe some jet, because I really like the color of jet, and we're going to mine out this corner down here because we are aware of where the aquifer is now. It is, of course, just in at least the way I play this game. I like to make sure that I just kind of know where I'm going to dig. So we're going to kind of dig out a good chunk of this, 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 chunk of that, chunk of that, chunk of that, all the way down to the bottom, although I'm going to need to erase some of this for obvious reasons. And there we go. There we go. Perfect. And it's going to dig her all out once this is just ready to go and nice and safe. Perfect. They begin digging. Then up here, earlier, I did say that I was going to make a meat stockpile, so I'm going to go and actually do that. And we're going to just go over here to food, and I'm just going to set it to meat. All kinds of meat, mostly duck meat, personally, at this point. And also, we have leather set up, and a decent amount of leather lying around. So, especially because we're going to be, you know, slaughtering bears pretty soon, as well as the dogs, and of course, the ducks. I don't actually think there's leather from ducks. Somebody was just born. What happened? Look at this. We got a baby girl. 130 dwarves. You'll love to see it. Also 20 upset dwarves. It's getting better. We're going to queue up some backpacks. So because my squads here actually, let's just see if I could fill out these last 2 positions real quick. Is there anybody here who would do well? Oh, there's an adequate swords dwarf. Perfect. Servesh, you are now recruited. And great swords dwarf. Novice fighter. Perfect. Adequate swords dwarf. Excellent. Last 2 spots have been filled out. I'm going to queue up backpack 10 of them. Now, there is some debate as to whether or not this is a good idea. They have a bad habit of leaving debris behind after they've made backpacks, which some people do not really like. I personally am totally fine with them leaving debris behind after making backpacks. Did I not queue up some grates. Excuse me? I'd swear that I did. Maybe I didn't. Floor grate. Oh, no, I did. Okay, did I just click the wrong button? We're going to get those floor grates in here just to stop the off chance that somebody decides to fall into that, because I think that would be very unfortunate if somebody fell in there. And it looks like we actually have a request here. They're asking for a crafts dwarf skill. Well, we'll have to get that done real quick here, just so that nothing else major disturbs our construction antics. And as you can see down here, we do have all these stoneworkers workshops as well as these crafts dwarf shops. So I think this would be a good side for it over here, because it would be right next to these crafts dwarf shops. So I'm just going to cut this area back a little bit, and we're going to use this spot. Actually, might as well, on a lower priority, also cut out this upper area here, just so that we can get those tanzanite clusters while we're at it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for them to dig out this bottom section. If we check miners, we do have a decent number of miners in the fortress currently, but of course we'll need more in the soon future. And what we're going to do essentially is I'm going to construct a little area right here, which is going to be our crafts dwarfs guild, because we do have a good number of more tetrahedrite. Look, we are spoiled for choice here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to begin constructing space for this setup. Now, the way we're going to do this is I'm going to build a little wall here out of a specific material that I haven't decided upon yet. Let's do quartzite. And we're going to go down to here and continue to make it out of quartzite. And we're going to go over to here and once again continue to make it out of quartzite. I'm going to actually do corner walls here like this because I think they look nice. And also keep in mind, if you use the deconstruct tool, you can just remove queued up items like that. Very quick and easy like. Up here, what's the priority of this set? Let's just set this to 7 because this is just a material digging out area. So it doesn't need to be as high priority. This can be very low priority, in fact, because I want them to work on the lower down spot before they work on up here. So they will finish what they're doing and then head back down to this prioritized area. Also, you can see the dwarves are bringing all of that quartzite over. Now, the reason I'm using constructed walls for these particular guild rooms is because constructed walls can be engraved, which actually increases their value higher than just normal smoothed walls. And also check out the mood up there for our dwarves. They're just getting happier. You'll love to see it. Got some more quartzite walls queued up, as well as another spot down here in the bottom. Because you want your guild halls to be inherently upgradable, I'm not going to be placing floor down here immediately. Once they get enough members, they will ask for a nicer guild hall, and I want to just make sure that they are satisfied enough with this one so that they will be happy when I upgrade it in the future. We did... We've essentially set this up at this point right now to be kind of a all right spot for right now. But of course, we will want to be able to just resatisfy them again with the same zone, ideally once it is ready for an upgrade. So more quartzite walls are coming down here because we do have just enough for this little spot here. And that last bit is being dug out so we can do this. Now remember, dwarves can't build diagonally. They can walk diagonally, but they don't have enough space to build diagonally. So when you're setting up areas like this, just make sure that you're not expecting them to go diagonally because they just won't be able to do it. We're going to get this area smoothed out, and like the entire flood of dwarves is going to come flying down here to build this area out for us. It looks like those that mist generator is very much doing its job. 10 ecstatic dwarves, 20 just happy dwarves, and everybody else is moving up in the satisfaction zone extremely nicely. Now we're going to place a door over here. Let's just make sure that they're the same material because I like my double doors to look coherent. And then we're going to do a finish your job there, dwarf. Come on. There you go. Okay, what material did I make that door out of? Shale. Okay, sweet. So the second one's going to be made out of shale. And then I'm going to go to the zone button here, and we're going to make a meeting area. We're going to go, and I'm going to accept it, and we're going to add a guild hall to this. Now, some people keep asking me, how do you know what guild halls you've accepted? Well, the only groups that can make guild halls and actually ask for guild halls are going to be ones with more than 10 members. There's our Crafts Dwarfs Guild. Look at that. Easy peasy. Now we just need to wait for the appraisal, which shouldn't take too long. Okay, so we don't quite have enough value yet. Well, that's easy. Like I said, we can engrave these walls. So I can just simply queue these up for engraving. And also add some furniture to the zone. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put a couple tables and chairs in. Looks like we have a couple slate tables, which should increase the value just a little bit. Or Yes, slate. There we go. Make kind of a nice long table. Kind of remove this side here. And then we can go around the edge with chairs. Let's just make sure the colors are coherent. Slate. Slate. Now, I'm pretty sure I've made this comment in the past. Just make sure that you don't add more than one throne or chair or seat per table, because they will start arguing over who gets the table space. Each table is enough room for one dwarf. And then in the middle here, we're just going to add a couple statues. Then we're going to unpause the game and see where this lands us value-wise. Looks like we still need a little bit more value, so what we're going to do is I'm going to go around the edges on these floors, and I'm going to use some dolomite blocks. And we're going to engrave or encrust these as well. So let's do that around the top and the side, all the way down to the bottom. Rinse and repeat. Down to there. Cross. And one tile up. And then we just wait for them to construct this as well. And that brings us into early autumn. I just want to say, if you've been enjoying this series, definitely check out my podcast, especially if you like the sound of my voice. It's me and a couple of friends who all stream full-time, talking about various different video games that we've been playing over the last few weeks. And frankly, it's a rotating cast. Sometimes I'm hosting, sometimes it's my friends hosting. Definitely worth giving it a listen. It can be found at halcyonfrequency.com. There's a link in the description. Also, if you want a place to talk about Dwarf Fortress, I recommend you join my Discord server. We did just get rejected for a Discord partner, which makes me kind of sad personally, but it seems like they have a lack of desire to give Discord partner to gaming-related places, or places that have any kind of cursing in there whatsoever. And we do swear in there a little bit, so it's a little unfortunate, but is what it is. Now, look at that. We are at the correct value. So, we can now see dwarves are going to come in here and they're going to socialize. They're going to use it as a guild hall, and the children can get taught lessons. Although I'm going to set this once again to citizens only, so that dwarves that do not necessarily have this skill can go in there and learn. Seems like the general mood of our dwarves is improving by the day. And I'm going to clear all of these notifications here. And we're going to wait for trading, because it's almost that season. I'm looking at my recording now and seeing that we are just over an hour. It's taking a little bit. I think we're going to start off the next episode with trading with the dwarves, assuming they arrive. And it would be very unfortunate if they didn't. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Weather Mountains. If you would like to see more of this Let's Play, the whole playlist is on this YouTube channel, obviously. And thank you very much for watching. And I just wanted to say shout-outs to everybody who's been following this series so far. I've been enjoying doing it. It's been an interesting kind of journey into a new type of content for me, and I look forward to continue creating it. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.